Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Aric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
I'm Lexi and I love agriculture.
My name's Carter and I love eating.
My name's Chase and I love lifting weights.
My name's Summer and I love spending my parents' money.
I'm Dane and I love baseball.
Our show is about our blended, blessed, and always a mess life. And our hope is if you find yourself in the same situation we are in, that by sharing our story, all the fun and all the mess, the challenges we are experiencing, it will give you some inspirations, laughs, and community, knowing you are not alone in this mess.
We appreciate you spending time with us. Let's dive in.
This episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess is sponsored by the children's book Feathers Matter. As our kids grow up, they face challenges in their life, and knowing their self-worth and their value is crucial to face the headwinds. Purchase this beautiful story to read to your kids and grandkids and start the conversation with them at a young age. They are worthy, they matter, and their feathers matter. You can find the link to order on our blendedblessedalwaysamess.com page. Mention code #blessed for an autographed copy. Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where things are different around here. And if you're watching the video Angie's currently producing, I just want to give a shout out to the hat on my head for my friends David and Megan at D-Rose Restaurant here in Columbia. 21 years, my favorite place to eat. No, they don't currently sponsor the show, but I'd be happy for them to send us some trade because our kids are expensive when we eat there. So that's how we'll start today. How about it? You didn't expect that, did you? Wasn't in the script.
Nope, wasn't in the script. Do you want to talk about how you're feeling about this new setup?
Frustrated. Ladies, though, if you're watching the video, my arms, try not to be distracted by my guns. I wasn't prepared for this tonight, so I've got a cut-off sleeve shirt happening over here.
Rednecker.
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
I did grow up in Sedalia, Missouri. No,
He's not comfortable. We'll just cut to the chase.
I'm not comfortable. Angie's changed the entire way we record the podcast last minute. Like she sent me I think that the outline for today's episode is fantastic. And then last minute, you're like, hey, we're going to try this new setup. I don't have a microphone in front of me. So number one, that's my first issue. I'm most comfortable when I have a microphone.
Oh.
I MC events in front of thousands of people. And I always say having a microphone to me must be what like having a pacifier is to many babies.
Uh-huh.
And my wife has stripped me from my safety net. I wasn't prepared for this, mind you, before we start
get out of your comfort zone.
And then how am I going to edit this?
We'll figure it out.
Editor.
We'll figure it out.
But by we, that's me.
Really? Who is the help desk support?
And so I'm off my game before we even start. And as you know, if you're married, you're listening to the podcast, compromise is your wife says, and I'm like, oh, and she's like, oh, we could try it. And then you do it because that's compromise. And so here we are.
Your wife is in technology and there's a ton of tools out there to use for podcasts. So in technology, you can't keep using the same tools over and over. Like it changes to make your life easier.
Felt like people enjoyed our podcast.
Try it. Well, yeah, maybe it's going to be better. They might like our videos better where we're actually like looking at the camera.
What's going to happen the next time I suggest to you?
Are you going to suggest a technology advancement? What are you going to suggest to me?
Well, see, I don't know yet. But the next time that I have a suggestion, I'd like to know how that's going to go.
Okay, well, we'll track that when you suggest something, and then we'll try it and report back.
Okay. All right. Well, what do we do next? I don't even know what we do from here.
Well,
we're not even in the same room now.
Luckily for you, I've written out what our podcast is going to be about today.
It's on my phone. I'm just used to being able to, like, you're next to me. I can look at you.
Oh my God. It's time to wean you off of your pacifier.
Okay. See how she treats me. This is my
it's time to grow up.
Let me just start by saying, if you have not listened to last week's episode with my good friend Dave Cover on the bigger story, just pause this one. As you can tell, it's already a train wreck. So just pause this one and go back to last week, because Angie and I both fully believe it's possibly the best podcast that we have ever done. Great perspective on the Bible and what it teaches us about grief and what we have to look forward to with Jesus in heaven. So Highly recommend. If you haven't listened to that podcast, it's definitely going to be better than this one.
Yes.
Just know that.
This one's our shit show podcast that we're trying new things and we're uncomfortable.
I was not prepared for that.
Hey, I do want to share.
You try to get Angie to do something she's not prepared for. You see how it goes. She doesn't handle it well either.
Every day. I'm not prepared. Every day.
Okay.
Let it go.
What do you got?
I wanted to start off by sharing another Hallie sign. So people we always get a lot of feedback from our listeners when we share a sign from Hallie. So Amber Kelling is kind of like our family photographer. So the first time I used her was for Hallie's senior pics. And then I reached out to her to take our family pics and our engagement pictures. And then I reached out to her to take our wedding pictures. And then I reached out to her to take our Blended Blessed, Always a Mess podcast pics. And then when we lost Hallie, she reached out to us.
Yes.
And then when she heard about Hallie and what happened to her.
Yeah.
And ultimately what her diagnosis was on the day that we were going to say goodbye to her, she reached out to us and said, hey, I don't know what this looks like, but I'll come and take pictures. So she captured moments that we will never forget. It was Hallie's last day that she captured. And then we recently had her take Carter's senior pictures and then more Blended Blessed pics of us and of Feathers Matter. So she's just been a big part of our life, of all the events like heartache and pure joy. And then recently I heard that I knew she was pregnant when she took Carter's senior pictures, but she had her third baby. And guess when her baby was born?
Me. Let me guess.
Aric, you're up.
January 17th.
She did have her baby on January 17th.
Significance of that being?
That's significant?
Yeah, you tell us.
It's Hallie's birthday.
Love it.
Now,
So
of
cool.
all the days, of all how you could have had her him on the day before, the day after, or 2 weeks early, whatever. Anytime. No. Her baby was born on Hallie's birthday, so I just think that's another cool sign from Hallie.
I love that. That's absolutely fantastic. And congrats to Amber and her husband and their growing family. And if you ever need any kind of photos done, she is amazing.
She's amazing.
Highly recommend her. She's the family photographer, as Angie said.
And we recently celebrated your birthday. You actually made it to 43 when you didn't think that you would.
Yeah, I don't know when that started, but I was young. I would have had to have been around 10 or so, where I was pretty sure I was going to die at 42.
I don't even know where does that come from?
Pretty sure Elvis died at 42, and I was a big Elvis fan.
Okay.
And then that continued in my life, and so being a big Elvis fan, whatever reason, I've been to Graceland many times. If you've not been, I highly recommend the trip. I just, for whatever reason, my life didn't feel like it was going to go past that. And then my dad died at 52. And it's like, yeah, okay, this is a real reasonable. My grandfather had his first heart attack around 42. So it seemed reasonable that 42 would be the end. What's your favorite Elvis song, honey?
Blue Suede Shoes.
Are you serious? That's one of my least favorite Elvis songs.
I don't know. I'm not a big Elvis fan. I mean,
but you loved that movie that we watched recently with Tom Hanks.
The movie was amazing.
His
but
life
I'm not
amazing.
Let me listen to an Elvis song. That's whatever popped in my mind. I know.
One of my great sadnesses is that I never saw Elvis live. We're caught in
That's your great sadness.
I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby. I've been waiting to do that ever since I saw the notes. Yeah, Suspicious Minds.
Okay.
We can go on together with suspicious minds. But anyway, I made it to 43. I beat Elvis. So winning, #winning.
Yeah, look at that.
And through that process, it's kind of been, I don't know, it has felt very much rebirth in that I can.
This is going to be the worst podcast ever.
You did it. Rebirth, because I can, now I've got a brand new beginning of life. I thought I was going to be dead right now. So 43, if I live another 42 years at 84, what can I do with those 42 years? What can I do? I have failed so many things now. Now I can do all these good things.
You can try new things, like new podcast software.
Okay, sure. That's how I was planning to come out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
You did come out with a cool activity for the kids to do for your birthday. So you gave them a little bit of homework.
Well, because I've been working through this on my own. That's been part of my rebirth, is that I have been reading a book called All It Takes Is a Goal by John Acuff. And I've referenced his previous book, Soundtracks, I listened to last year. And that's about the negative things we tell ourselves and turning down the soundtracks in our mind. And now I'm reading his book called All It Takes Is a Goal. And he locked me in the first few minutes because he was talking about in his mid-40s, he realized he hadn't lived up to his life's potential, which my wife regularly tells me I've not lived up to my potential. And
love.
We'll say later, we'll talk later about, we went to counseling for the first time. I went by myself this week and my counselor literally said to me, she goes, how did that make you feel? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I think she means it with love, but it doesn't always feel that way. I mean, think about it. Your spouse,
I do mean it.
Your
with
spouse
love.
like, you don't live up to your potential. And she says it often.
That is not what I said. I said you have a huge amount of talent that you're keeping yourself small because you're afraid to get out of your comfort zone. Sorry if that hurts. I'm giving you a compliment. I said, I believe that my wife means it with love. Sometimes she says it better than others because she hasn't just said it once. It's come out several times. But you're reading books about your goals. And I'm saying you could achieve whatever you want if you put your mind to it and you step out of that box that none of us like stepping out of. It's our comfort zone. And
so today I think I'm trying to figure out ways that I can provide water to like 700 million African people so that I can really go above and beyond the box, out of the box. And that's not really true, but that was something I was reading about in the book today that another guy did. So at the end of the day, what this book does, it locked me in when he said, hey, I was in my mid-40s, realized I hadn't lived up to my potential. And the guy's a multimillionaire. So I took notice. I started reading and really digesting what he was saying. And he starts the book by having you do a best moments list. And then you can add, you do 20 best moments. You're not trying to do them in order. It's just the best things that have ever happened in your life. They pop up, you do them. And there's a method to that as the book progresses. And it's about compartmentalizing what those best moments are, which ones you love the most, and then how to fuel continuing to make those things happen. And that helps you live your best potential. I'm hoping that Angie's going to read the book because I think it would be good for her as well. Maybe we should do a book report on it like she's had us do before on this podcast. It's that maybe we should do a book report on it together because I think it would be really good for everybody and our kids too. And so for our kids, I came up with the idea that for my birthday, I wanted all of them to fill out their 20 best moments. Because if I'm being 100% honest with you, I don't want our children to wait till they're 43 years old to start living up to their full potential. It does feel like I've wasted 25-ish years of my life trying to figure things out. Maybe you feel that way. And I didn't want that for the kids. And so I had them do the exercise. And I thought it was good. Also, time out. I did it because my wife always loves engaging the kids at things when we have family dinners. I've picked up on that over the years. And over the last several months, I have tried to make it so that I help with that. And she doesn't have to do that on her own, in hopes, if I'm being honest, that it's a way for her and I to also connect, that she sees that I'm trying to meet her where she is. There you go.
There you have it. No, I thought it was a great exercise. We gave them the paper to fill out like a day or two ahead of time.
I think we gave it a week because
maybe it was a week. Yeah.
We knew it would take them a minute. Yes.
They really need to put some thought into it rather than just bringing it on them and them having to think about their best moments. So it was cool. After dinner, we all sat around and everybody read off their list of what their best moments were. Some of them were surprising to hear a little bit. It was just cool. A lot of the commonalities among them were trips. So again, it's the time and the experiences together that matter to the kids. Summers, one of hers was really cool, like just melted my heart. But one of her best moments was seeing her mom publish Feathers Matter, which I thought was cool. She also had on there moving to Columbia, which I also love because you never know whenever you move. And we've got drive time back and forth between where we live and their school, if that would be tough or not. And so it was cool to hear all the kids just share their best moments and actually put some thought into it.
Yeah, because we
like
reminded them several times throughout the week, like, hey, we're doing this at dinner. Please have it done. These are your best moments. They don't have to be in order. It's your favorite things. And
you told them ahead of time, like you can't be ungrateful when you are thinking through your best moments.
Yeah. I mean, and I try to review mine, but at the end of the day, it helps you to go back. John Acuff then compartmentalizes they break down into experiences, relationship, accomplishment, and object. And I had 0 objects in my 20 best moments list. I had 2 accomplishments, which shocked me because I built my life on trying to be very accomplished in everything I did because it was the only way I felt that I could get praise from people around me. And then what I did have a tie that, and a lot of them crossed over, was relationships and experiences. And my favorite moments in life have been things that I've done with you, with our children, with my dad. Things like that are the best moments of my life, and now the goal is to try to figure out how to recreate those, but also make a purpose in life for other people. So unfortunately, I can't just be a travel blogger, which would be amazing, but
I've always thought that would be fun.
That'd be awesome. But yeah, so I'm still working through that. I'll finish the book this week probably and really like it. Highly recommend it for everybody. Again, All It Takes Is a Goal by John Acuff. He gives you things to work on throughout the book, which I like.
Well, and we also had a great dinner that night.
Yeah, it was fun.
We had Chef Craig, who I would say is also a family friend. He was our caterer.
He's our family chef. We have a family chef.
It sounds bougie, but it actually is pretty affordable, especially when you have a large family. And if you go out to dinner, you're going to spend a bunch of money. So it actually is more almost economical considering the amount of food that you get and just the more focused time and experience together. But
it's not as loud and all the stuff going around. You're in your own home. And for sure, for the amount of food, it's just like going to a nice fancy restaurant, but better.
Yeah. So we did a theme this time and he taught the kids to cook. So they all had to help and take turns doing different things. I would say somewhat taught the kids to cook because I'm sure he was like shaking his head sometimes.
Right.
They learned what was really in Caesar salad dressing.
Yeah. I don't think they were fans of the anchovy, but they all ate it. They were like, what?
Yeah. The kids also learned not to throw chicken into the hot pan of grease. You got to have to gently lay it in there.
Won't say which child.
No. I think we knew this going in, but we learned more about who's willing to try new things and who's not. Mm-hmm. So not going to mention any names there, but
nope. Tallest person at the place.
We got some growth to do there. We'll unpack that. We're gonna get to a point where he tries lettuce.
A green bean.
Eventually, we're easing into it.
It's actually not a crew member; it's a boyfriend. So
yeah,
there you go.
Let's see. What else have we been up to? We talk about Carter.
Yeah, that's been so. Carter's going through senior year, and if you've got kids that have done the whole senior experience, Angie's done that with Hallie, and that was weird because of COVID. And then Lexi did the next year. Still some weirdness with COVID. You couldn't have the full graduation. So this is really probably our first real senior year where kids have just been going to school like they should, And so Carter's living that and just wrapped up yesterday as we record this. When this drops, it'll be a week or two past, but his basketball career. And, he's going to go on to play baseball at college, but this was it for basketball. And it was an interesting and long season. Like season started out good and he was a starter and they had a good team. And a couple weeks in, he got mono and had to sit out for 4 weeks. So super disappointing for him. He came back, he played well, and then the team honestly got really, really good the last couple of weeks of the season and won their district championship. won their sectional, ended up losing yesterday in the Elite Eight. But as I told him yesterday and again today, I just, as a dad, you cannot be more proud of those moments. I played basketball and I told him the day that the district championship was going on over a week ago. I remember 25 years ago being that district championship game and winning that, and still moments of what that felt like. And so to be a dad and to cheer your son on and to watch him play so hard and play so well. Angie took lots of video, which I love to have that, and then play so well in the sectional. And it was fun because, the sectional then, Lexi and Carson and Lexi's grandma drove up with us. And yesterday we had the entire crew there. I know Hallie was watching, and so many of Carter's family, my sister Lauren and my brother-in-law Matt and Levi, Hallie's godson, we were all there. And he played well yesterday, but we were playing the defending state champions and in their house and couldn't get it done. So that chapter ends, and then we'll get ready for his senior year of baseball. But yeah, it was as a dad, I couldn't be more proud of him. I couldn't have enjoyed that experience anymore with him and for him to see how he showed up and grew as a player and a leader throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching him, and it really did feel like a completed milestone. And I think since we've been together, like it's the longest kid that we've seen grow up, together. And so it was really cool to watch him evolve and also get, he's close to graduating from high school, and I really tried to capture those moments, especially while he was playing basketball, that moments that matter, right? And, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard on Summer for sure when Carter graduates, because she was even emotional at his basketball game the last time playing basketball. But I think it's also all still very directly related to losing Hallie. I mean, Hallie was the big sis that was crazy and fun and understood her, and Carter's crazy and fun, and they're connected. And, she always felt like Hallie knew her, and they could totally relate on so many levels. I mean, don't get me wrong, Hallie didn't spoil her. If she forgot something, wanted Hallie to get it from the house, she wouldn't do it. She'd be
she's like, you need to learn.
Too bad. You should learn. Remember, I had to do that. You need to do that, But it's like,
which is good for
Carter's
kids.
another person that will be leaving. And I think that's just going to be hard, because like when Lexi left to go off to college and when Hallie left to go off to college, they were still popping in all the time. And that doesn't happen anymore. And, they rode together to Jeff a lot to go to school. And, it's like someone's leaving again. So it's going to be hard, but that's also
it's kind of like Dave talked about last week. It's the grief of a child that leaves the house. I mean, it's part of the grief process.
It's also an opportunity to lean in more into your faith and know that there's a plan, right? There's still a bigger plan that we don't necessarily fully understand. But anyway.
How are you going to do when Carter leaves?
I don't know yet. I mean, I got teary-eyed at his game too. I'm always the mom that used to be. I used to be the mom that always looked ahead. Like I never cried when the kids went to kindergarten. I never cried when they graduated, like those types of things, because I was always so excited about their next chapter and all the experiences that would bring. Like my mind always goes that way versus like, oh, this is the last time they're going to do this. It was always like, here's their first college experience. So it was never really hard on me, but I'm in a completely different world now. I feel like I hold tighter to my kids than more of teaching them to fly, because it's like, I need them more now than they need me. And I want them close to me. And so I think it's going to be hard.
It'll be a piece of cake. I'm about to get the hell out. Go on.
Sure. Okay.
No, I'm going to struggle with this one, I think. And Hallie and Lexi kind of left around the same time. But there's definitely something about being a dad and you have your first son, and it's not, I love having a daughter, being a girl dad. Right. But when you have a son, you're hoping that they're going to grow up kind of somewhat like you and be like some of the things you do and carry on your family name, right? Whether it sounds stupid.
School.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew that was going to be dumb to you, but you do. I mean, that's important.
I get it, but
my
it's like
cousin,
it's
my
a
cousin,
name.
yeah, but my cousin Paul Michael, I talk about it in Colorado. He has a girl, so it's me. Like once it's over here, then our family lineage is done. So Carter or Dane, I need to have a son, or else the Bremer name just ends there, right? So it's like that's kind of the deal. And I know it means nothing to you.
It's letters.
Okay. Anyway, I love what he does and who Carter is, and I hope that he
great kid.
Yeah, and I hope that he spreads his wings and flies. One thing I don't think he's done enough of is just spread his wings and fly, because he's a middle child. And I just think he has a lot to offer. So I hope that when he gets to college, that he takes all the opportunities that maybe I missed on, or maybe do everything you want to do. And yeah, good kid. Excited for him, and just trying to enjoy the next 2.5 months before he graduates as much as possible.
Yeah, so that's Carter. And then you mentioned it earlier, but we did go to our first therapy session together.
And look how well it went. We're now recording in separate rooms.
Oh my God.
That's how well it went. We are in separate rooms now.
I actually suggested it a while back. And do you remember this conversation? Because it was a trigger for you.
Yeah, I do. I even brought it up to our therapist, who I thoroughly enjoy. I really like her a lot.
She's amazing.
Don't
say her name, because then people will flock
everybody's
to
going to
her,
want to hang
and
out
we're not
there.
going to be able to get an appointment.
Yeah. She's hard to get in with already. So it's a trigger, because I said, look, anytime I've done marriage counseling, it pretty much means, hey, we're just trying to salvage stuff because we're going to get a divorce. And so a little bit concerned about that. I mean, you said that's not what we're doing.
No, I think
whatever.
It needs to be normalized, because
I like therapy.
We all could use it. And, I think especially when you're dealing with suffering or hardships in life, we need to stop thinking that we have it all figured out and we'll just deal with it. We'll just handle it and bury it deep, versus like thinking about it as a way to develop tools. And relationships take work. Faith takes work and focus. And we're literally all going to be faced with challenges that we're going to need the tools and that solid foundation to go into that storm, like the buffalo. So we have been, and I'm sure for a long time, we'll still be like doing this dance between communicating well and not communicating well, and trying to navigate this crazy grief journey that we're on top of parenting, on top of being fairly newly married. Like there's a lot. And so I had suggested that of like, maybe we need to like go together and just talk through some of this stuff. And yes, Aric did initially was like, what? Take a deep breath. Like, this is a positive thing.
Yes.
So anyway.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No one's tapping out on the relationship. It's almost like you're tapping someone in to like make sure that we're not saying hurtful things, like you're not living up to your potential.
I mean,
and make sure that we're communicating on how we should navigate life and do our best to support each other.
So I've already been back to see our counselor since then. Really like her a lot. And honestly, for me, over the last several months, as I've been honest and open on this podcast, like I have been working on myself to be a better version. Because what happened during the grief process for me after losing Hallie, and honestly losing this family the way that it was currently constructed, really difficult. And I handled grief with my dad a certain way. Didn't love that. And don't want to do that in this family. And I do want to be able to build something new. As we've said over and over, you can't rebuild this. This isn't something that you can kind of put the pieces back together. And so as part of, reading just all the different things that I've shared over the last several months, to reading the current book I'm reading from John Acuff, to going to counseling, I mean, I think it's a good thing. I think counseling is healthy. I went back and saw our counselor this week by myself. I have another meeting in a couple of weeks. And then our counselor, I took it upon ourselves to kind of like be like, hey, Angie, when are you free on this week, so that we could get back in there together? Because we agreed, like it's not really counseling if you go once. You actually have to go. It's like anything in life. You can't get on a bicycle one time and it works. You have to get on a bicycle multiple times to be able to learn how to ride it. Can't go to the gym one time and all of a sudden I'm in shape. So kind of did that. And, it's hard because you have to put the work in, right? Neither Angie nor myself, neither one of us have the time to just be like, hey, let's work this into our schedules. But for me personally, I am putting it into my schedule on a regular basis because I think it's important for me to be the best version of myself for kids, for Angie. And at the end of the day, this is a pain that's never going to go away. And especially for Angie. But I do believe from talking to our counselor, that you find a good one, if you're in a season of grief and you find a good one, she will give us the tools that we need to start to crawl out of where we are. And I think that's important because, if you're in a season of grief and you're listening today, you can stay in the grief for as long as you want to. Everybody's different. Stay as long as you want to. But the world's not going to stop. Like the world has kept moving forward for the last 15 plus months. And I've just kind of made up my mind that I'm never going to let Hallie go, but I am going to honor her by showing up for my wife, for the kids, and for myself, because I probably didn't show up for myself for a while. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I hope for anybody in grief that you'll try to do the same things. It does mean it's going to hurt because you do have to, in that, just my time this past week, go through some things that you have to process from 43 years of life that you don't always love to go into and think about and that, or the other. And I think it's important for all of us to do that so that it doesn't keep us stuck. I'm the poster boy for keeping myself stuck for a lot of years. After my dad died and being in a marriage I didn't like being in for a long time. And I'm the poster boy of staying stuck. And I just don't want to be stuck. And so yeah, I mean, that's why I'm doing the counseling and why I want to do it with my wife. I do miss my wife very much. I don't think that would surprise Angie for me to say that, even though we're in separate rooms. She's separated us. And I'm not letting you live this one down for a minute. The truth of the matter is losing our child is the hardest thing I think a marriage can go through. I would say probably even more so than if you have been through a marriage where there was an affair and you had to work through that. I think losing a child is probably worse. I really do believe that because you can't get that back. You can't bring Hallie back. And so, as Angie said earlier, it's a constant dance of back and forth and back. I don't know all the time what I'm supposed to do. I know she doesn't know what she's supposed to do. And we were newlyweds when this happened. And so it's not like we had 20 years of history to go, okay, well, we know how to handle this. And not that a couple that's been married 20 years and lose a child would, but I think you just have a little bit more of, okay, I kind of know you a little bit. And so for this, I want to make sure that I show up well for her and the kids and that I do miss her. I miss a lot of different things. And how do we kind of put that back together? And that's both of us working on it. And she fights every day. Please don't ever think I would never think she fights. She fights all the time. So I don't know if anything I'm saying is making sense other than I'm an advocate for therapy and working through the things.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's all.
What did you hear? What did you hear, Angela? You're the co-host of this podcast.
What did I hear you say?
Yeah. What did I hear?
That?
Yeah. Please help.
Well, that you want to show up. I mean, you're trying to show up for the family and learn how to navigate this. I mean, I think for me, a few takeaways from just even that first session is like therapy's uncomfortable and that's okay. I mean, that I think it's meant to be uncomfortable to kind of push you out of that zone of surface and going deeper, which is always hard. I mean, for me, it was actually really hard for me to talk during that session. I was just so emotional because you're going to go deep. And when I go deep, it's instant tears. So it's still hard to focus on that when the pain is so deep. So one of the questions that was asked, and Aric actually asked me this a lot, and I would probably encourage you to ask your partner the same questions and just see what response you get. But, he often says, what do you need from me? Or what can I do today to make your day better? Or what do you need from me emotionally? That was one of the questions. And I literally don't have an answer. Like I don't know what to say, because it feels hopeless that there's really something out there that can lift this, right? Because I feel like that's the question.
Yeah, but
is like, how can I help you? And my mind instantly goes to, there's nothing anybody can do. And also, you do so much all the time. You're constantly doing stuff for us that it's like I don't even know what to say. So that is emotional just to even unpack itself. So I think one thing that I've also kept hearing from that session, but even like throughout the last couple of weeks, is just that need for patience and acceptance by all of us. Like acceptance, it's going to be like this for a while. And so that has to be accepted, like, and it's patience with myself, patience with you, patience with this process, like, and patience with the kids. And, we've even talked about parenting, in one of our most recent podcasts, while you're grieving, and just different ways to handle that. And, I think the thing we have to keep in mind on top of all of this, of you and I trying to stay connected, is even just knowing that the kids are dealing with so much, especially the twins, the age, that unshakable loss of Hallie, school, sports, social media, packing, unpack, like it's all so much. So, you go back to that patience and acceptance of where we are.
Go back to David's pyramid. My friend David, trust the source at the bottom, God. In the middle is have grace for yourself, grace for your significant other, grace for your children, grace for others, and then patience at the top. Like, make sure that you have patience for yourself, for your kids, for your spouse, for all the people around you, and just go back to the bottom of the pyramid, which is God. Trust that God is with you in this process and allowing you to give grace and patience and all those things. Well,
even today in church, it was the wait patiently. 2 words that's so extremely difficult. Waiting is hard. Having patience is even harder. And so, like I said, I just keep hearing this over and over. And we all live in this instant gratification world but what we're told is to wait patiently, to trust God and wait that His plan's better. And so I'm constantly reminding myself of that, especially with the ache for Hallie, that wait patiently. I will see her again. When I want to know my path and to find my purpose, it's wait patiently. When I've been an Uber driver for the kids for 3 days, it's like, wait patiently. Enjoy this time, because they're going to get their license soon enough. This weekend, too, Summer fell asleep on me, which probably, I can't even remember the last time that happened.
It's been a while.
And she was snuggled up on me, and my leg went to sleep while she was laying on me. But like I said, it hasn't happened in a long time, so it's like, soak it up and wait patiently. I want to hear back from Hallie's organ recipients so bad. And, there's 5 or 6 of them, and they haven't mailed back. And so I keep reminding myself to, wait patiently. I did get impatient, because it's been a year since I've wrote letters.
Yeah,
and so
for sure.
I did reach out to the Midwest Transplant Network just to verify, did you guys actually receive my letters? And they did. I mean, they had the date of when they received it and stuff. And they suggested writing again, because when you mail them so quickly after it happened, they're still in this process of healing themselves, that they suggested writing again. But
sometimes they feel guilty and things like that.
Right. But I keep thinking, but out of 5 or 6, surely one of them would write me back. So
I believe that when the time is right, that will happen.
Yeah.
And
it's trust God's plan, and then
that takes us to today, though, a little bit, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's also I want to hurt less, and I feel like everybody around me wants that too. But then it's also, that's another, wait patiently.
I'm going to throw this at you out of nowhere on the podcast, not in your notes. Haven't talked about it in therapy yet. No, it's just it's a thought, and you can trash it. This is an idea, right? We throw each other an idea, like we talked about at the start of this.
Yeah.
Or, I'm doing this video thing that we're doing. new equipment. So I'm just throwing this at you. What if we don't actually need you to hurt less? I actually believe that you're going to always hurt to this degree. Like, as I've watched you, especially over the last several months, I don't think the hurt's ever going to go away. The degree of hurt is always going to be there. So you're always going to have that. What if we're all trying to figure out how to make it so that you could find some joy in the hurt, find some happiness while hurting, find some connection while hurting. Whatever those things are, nobody wants you to stop hurting, and nobody wants you to ever forget Hallie. And so as long as you're remembering her, there's going to be pain, and none of us want you to stop that. But we also want you to find joy, because we want to live a joyful life with you, even though we hurt for her too. And so what if there was a different, it's just kind of rephrasing, right? You don't have to stop hurting.
Yeah, I get that. But I just don't have more things for you guys, for people to do, today I went to go see Phoenix. Summer and I did. And so I'm just grateful for this horse that I feel like was such a gift from Hallie, and being able to go out there. Like, I love that today. And then I came back, and
then Phoenix was so lovey today.
Oh my gosh!
You look like you should be in a horse magazine as a model with that horse today. You guys were so cute, and just looked amazing.
Yeah, she is like in my face, like wants to give me all kinds of kisses. And then I came back and I made cookies, but with Hallie's KitchenAid mixer that she loved, and she always used for her cheesecake. So I'm like, that brought me a smile a little bit. It was like still painful, but so it was anything to like honor her. And the other thing is, like, for people, I've gotten this a lot lately, where one of our listeners messages and says, I thought it'd be awkward, so I didn't want to say anything, or I wasn't sure if I should send this. And it's like, oh my gosh, anybody that is thinking of Hallie or have listened to us and they see something that reminds them of her, send it. Like, that makes my heart so happy to know that people are thinking about her. And there's this car that has Hallie personalized plates, like spelled just like her name, just says Hallie. If someone knows who that person is, like, you're going to have to connect her with us, because we've seen that car multiple times, and it just makes us smile. Love it. And one of our listeners messaged me a picture. She saw it in California, Missouri. And she's like, I wasn't sure if I should send this. Might be weird. But I'm like, no, it is not weird. Reach out. Like, those things make me feel joy. So knowing that people are thinking about her, like, I just think that that's so great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love it. And I think as long as we never forget, I know you need to ask this, but I just want to acknowledge, like, I know that there are times when you start to feel, and we've read about this, right, with other parents. So I know it's a commonality, a common thing. Because at times when you even feel a little bit of joy, I know that you instantly go back to like feeling guilty and like you shouldn't feel that joy. And so there's somewhere I think that therapy can help you to build the tools for that. Because you always tell me if therapy's not giving you the tools to do something, then you shouldn't be going there. And I think it's finding tools for you. I do believe that. I think it's finding tools for you to climb out of the situation.
I think it's part of that is like a fear that.
See, this is why we should be in the same room. I can't put my arm on you. I can't tell you it's going to be okay.
I maybe don't want you to put your arm around me.
We're supposed to go on a trip together this week, y'all. She won't even be in the same room with me.
Oh my gosh. I'm
serious. I'm kidding with that. But what I'm saying is, I know what you're going to say right now.
What am I going to say?
Go ahead.
I'm not going to be able to say it because I'm just going to cry.
That's okay, though. That's part of the therapy, is that you say it out loud. And then you let the people that are listening to the podcast go, Angie, we love you, and we hear you, and we hear your pain. And then other moms are going to hear you, and they're going to go, we feel the same pain. We're in the same boat. It's important for you to say these hard things out loud. Maybe it is good we're in separate rooms because I feel braver when I'm not in the same room with you that I can say that to you.
So it's not that like I feel like bad for feeling joy, but there's always this underlying fear that I'm gonna forget what she looks like.
You're doing a great job. This is good.
So like you just want to hold on to her, and when you hold on to her so tight, it's always going to be so painful. So it's like this fear of that you'll forget her.
But
I'll forget her.
So we know, and so that's back to that story that you're telling yourself, which you tell me and the kids all the time. And then you wrote this beautiful book called Feathers Matter, and what would happen if the mama bird held on to her baby bird too tight. You'd suffocate your baby bird. And what we do know from church this morning even is that joy, restoration, resurrection, restoration equals joy at the end, is that Hallie's already beat us there. And so you're actually not doing anything when you find moments of joy that are going to forget her. You're actually getting closer to her. And a resurrected body and her soul and yours, and the joy that the two of you can share can be like nothing you even experienced here on earth. So you're not ever going to forget her. We don't allow that to happen in this house, right? We never allow ourselves to forget Hallie in anything we do. Pray for her tonight at dinner. We never forget those things. And so it's a rewiring. Like Dave said in church this morning, Pastor Dave from last week's sermon, our brain wires itself to do things. And your brain right now, I see this because I'm married to you and I live with you and I sleep in the same bed with you and I hear you cry, is allowing yourself to wire to where it's not, you're not going to lose her. Okay. You can only get closer to her. And I know this from experience because I did it with my dad and I did it wrong. The more joy I found in things that my dad loved to do, the closer I felt to him and the more I realized that I would be with him again. And so I've not said that to you. Going to therapy is making me braver, and also reading my Bible regularly. And you're doing everything right, honey. And I love you and the kids love you, but you are going to need to rewire some things.
Yeah, I thought today was a good message. One of the things that they said in the sermon today was like, we don't believe something by merely saying we believe it or when we believe that we believe it. It's like we believe something when we act as if it were true. And that was like such a great reminder for me because, you know, I believe Hallie's in a better place. Like I believe in God. I believe in all of that. But I think the hardest thing for all of us is to act like it's true. So acting as if it were true is being joyful that I'm going to get to see Hallie again, you know, and not letting the sadness change the way we behave. Now, also reality. Yes, like this is the worst thing anybody could ever go through is to lose a child. And so you're going to feel all of those things, but it's this constant reminder to myself of like, what story am I telling myself? And what really do I know to be true? And so when you believe in it, you need to actually act like it's true. And there was also a great little scenario too. It was like someone having a conversation with God and saying, hey, I'm worried about X and Y. And God says, well, don't worry about X and Y because Z's coming. And then the person's like, well, I know, God, but like, what about X and Y? And God says, but Z. And then the other person says, but X and Y. And then God just like heavy sigh, right? Because we're not listening. We're still focused on what we feel, what we want versus like trusting and acting like we know what plan Z is. Like we know that there's a different plan.
And we learned that from Dave this morning, was giving the sermon and the same, and as he said last week on our podcast, God sees the whole puzzle box, right? You dump your puzzle pieces out on the table, you're trying to put it together, you're looking at that puzzle box. God already knows what the puzzle box ends up like. And we're so worried about X and Y that we don't know what Z, the entire puzzle box, is going to look like. And so it is true. And I do believe You have to act like it's true. It's going to be hard for all of us. And I had something happen right after that today that I was concerned about. And I just turned my radio off, like I talked about, going to the event, and just talked to God and said, I know I'm worried about X and Y. Help me to know there's a Z. And before I even had to deal with X and Y, God showed me the Z and took care of everything. So you can't use, there is that faith, there is that belief, and God holds us up and loves us and cares for us and takes care of our family, even when we don't know what's going to happen next, right? Because he already knows what Z is. If you're struggling with things right now in your life, I would recommend you, again, go back to last week's episode with Pastor Dave, where he talks about the bigger story. We cannot emphasize enough how much Angie and I have felt comfort in that episode and how much we love it. Honey, I don't know how I feel about doing this episode in separate rooms, but we made it through, and hopefully all the audio works and it edits well. But I do think that the conversation was good. So I love you. I'm going to come upstairs and give you a kiss on the cheek. All right?
Okay, a hug.
All right. Oh, do I get both or one or the other?
I'll see. Maybe both.
This is redonkulous. All right. You guys have a wonderful week, and God bless.
Thank you for listening to Blended Blessed and Always a Mess. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at blendedblessedalwaysamess.com.
Reach out to us on any of our social channels. We would love to hear from you. Have a great week.